time is it?
It's time for art!
Fourth and fifth grade, we made it. We made it to the 20th century. The century me and your parents were born in, the 1900s. Now some of you might be thinking, last week we worked on Rembrandt in the 1600s. We've skipped the 17 and 1800s. Well, yes and no. I know for a fact that since you've been with me at Killearn Lakes, that we have covered at least two artists from the 1800s. We have made Claude Monet inspired landscapes, and he was alive in the 1800s to the early 1900s. And every other year, we make a poster inspired by Vincent van Gogh's sunflowers and irises. We didn't do that this year, but we did do it at the beginning of the year, last year, and we'll do it at the beginning of the year, next year. You know, the poster that says, on your mark get set, go. A lot of teachers still have theirs hanging up. Now we are in the early 1900s, and I want us to talk about Miss Frida Kahlo. She's a painter from Mexico, famous for her many portraits and self-portraits and work inspired by the nature and artifacts that surrounded her in Mexico. Frida Kahlo lived in Mexico, and when she was a little girl, she was in a terrible bus accident. In fact, she was impaled with a metal rod. It went right through her. Ouch. She survived, but she spent her entire life having numerous surgeries that were painful to recover from. Because her back was so weak, she also had to wear a very uncomfortable metal harness if she wanted to stand up or walk. She spent a lot of her adult life in bed, which is where she painted. And she painted her pain. A lot of people consider her artwork to be surrealist. And when I say the word surreal, I mean dreamlike. But to her, they weren't surreal. They were expressions of the way she actually felt. She considered them accurate reflections of the way she felt living a life in chronic pain. A lot of her paintings deal with symbolism, and many of the symbols in her painting also tie into her pain. A lot of her paintings deal with roots tying her to the land. But painting herself very plant-like also symbolized her growth as a person. Frida Kahlo's artwork often features her own body in her paintings, presenting it in various states and disguises. Sometimes it's wounded, sometimes she is broken, sometimes she's depicted as a child or clothed in different outfits. So what we are going to try to do today is make our own Frida Kahlo inspired surreal self-portrait. I want you to look at these paintings and be inspired for your own surrealist self-portrait. In some of her self-portraits, she looks like her hair is all dolled up. Some kids call this pretzel hair. It's formed in the shape of a pretzel. You could draw yourself with pretzel hair. She posed with animals in nature. You could draw yourself with different animals. She drew herself as an animal, as a wounded deer. Well, I don't want to draw myself as a wounded deer, but you could draw yourself mixed with another animal. A lot of her pictures have her with roots coming out of her body, tying her to the earth, but also showing her maturing and growing. You could draw yourself as part plant. You could draw yourself with different outfits or disguises. You could draw more than you. You could draw yourself with a loved one on your forehead because you're thinking of them, like Frida did with her husband Diego. So what we are going to try to do today is make our own Frida Kahlo inspired surreal self-portrait. I want you to look at these paintings and be inspired for your own surrealist self-portrait. I'm inspired by the two Fridas, one dressed very formally and one dressed very informally, sitting in two different chairs apart from each other, sharing a beating heart in the middle. We've drawn enough self-portraits of us lately, so this should be pretty easy. We did it. We drew a self-portrait with our Da Vinci bodies. We painted a self-portrait last week with Rembrandt. So I am just going to draw my head floating. I'm going to draw myself sitting in a chair. I'm going to draw a tuxedo. I'm going to draw my two heads. That'll be the easiest part. The next thing I'm going to do is put on my teacher outfit, my polo shirt, my pants, and my sneakers, and I will be sitting in a pretty plain looking wooden chair. My other head, the head on the left, needs to be dressed fancy. So I'm going to go ahead and draw myself in a tuxedo. Once I've drawn enough and I know where my chest is, I will go ahead and draw a big cartoon heart in between the two pictures of me. I'll go ahead and finish tuxedo me. I will color in parts of me with either crayon or colored pencil. And next week, I will add more color with watercolor paint. Last week's pro tip talked about why artists paint from the background up to the foreground. Another thing artists do is they paint from the top to the bottom. Because when you're dealing with gravity, gravity pulls things down. It drips down. And when you paint from the top and it drips, you can fix those drips as you work your way down. If I'm taking a shower, I make sure that I start with my hair so that any dirt goes down. I don't want to clean lower and have the dirt wash down onto parts I've already cleaned. The same would go for your car. I would start with the top of your car. If you were cleaning or painting a house, I would start at the top and work your way down. And yeah, we didn't do that with this mural. We actually started on the bottom, and as a result, I had to clean up a lot of drips along the way, and I had to go over things more than once. And I knew that going into this, but I still started low anyway, because that's what the kids can reach without stepping on chairs or ladders. So I guess my pro tip to you is, as a reminder, if you can help it, start from the top, work your way down. Bonus points! 4th and 5th graders, this week's bonus point, tell me when Frida Kahlo was born. See you next week. Bye.